picture this for a second, right? You are standing in your living room, holding your morning coffee, and you look out the window.
Right, getting ready to start the day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But instead of gazing over this lush, rolling green lawn with a white picket fence, your view is, well, it's a concrete parking lot.
Oh, yeah. A classic urban view.
Or maybe you open your front door and you are staring directly into a sad, flickering, fluorescent-lit elevator hall.
Which is just so incredibly common for so many people today.
It really is. If you live in an apartment or, any kind of small urban space, you know that incredibly specific feeling.
That feeling of being totally boxed in.
Right. You try to make your space feel grounded, you want it to feel connected and warm, but there is this nagging sensation that you are literally suspended in the air inside a concrete box.
You're just entirely detached from the earth.
Totally. And that brings us to the core mission of our deep dive today. We are looking at some absolutely fascinating excerpts from a lecture by Anette Halfon.
Yes, she is an incredible expert in Feng Shui and Chinese astrology.
Yeah, and this specific lecture of hers is titled Urban Feng Shui, Creating Harmony in Small Spaces.
And, Halfon's work here is so valuable because she refuses to deal in the idealized versions of how we wish we lived.
She doesn't just pretend we all have mansions, right?
Exactly. She is confronting the actual architectural reality of the modern urban dweller.
I mean, she is looking straight at the high-rise apartment, the tiny balcony, the concrete jungle, and asking how we map ancient spatial philosophies onto these highly compressed environments.
It's a really unique kind of modern spatial isolation we've built for ourselves.
We really have. We've engineered our cities for maximum density.
Which means we have severed that physical connection between our living spaces and the actual literal ground.
Yeah, we are basically living in the sky.
Right, or we're just stacked on top of each other. And our brains, which, evolved to understand territory and connection to the earth, they often struggle to process that suspension.
That makes a lot of sense. So today we are focusing on the second part of her lecture series, which zeroes in on the concept of the backyard and its deep connection to family values.
The backyard is huge in traditional Feng Shui.
It really is. It's not just a place to put a grill or let the dog out.
Oh, no,
right?
no, not at all. It is incredibly important energetically.
The source material says it is supposed to be the literal anchor for your home.
Yeah, it holds your family's roots. It provides heavy, immovable stability.
And it acts as this wellspring of nourishing, supportive energy for everyone living under the roof.
Because the backyard acts as the foundation of familial security. When you have a piece of land behind your structure, you have a physical barrier of protection.
A dedicated zone where the family can ground itself in nature.
Exactly. But that creates a massive problem for millions of us.
Yeah. What happens to those roots if you don't actually have a backyard? Okay, let's unpack this, because our goal today is to figure out how to translate this ancient system of spatial harmony for the modern, backyardless apartment dweller.
And Halfon actually addresses this disparity right out of the gate in her lecture, which I love.
She does. She points out that the first part of her series was entirely for people who live in a private home.
She is quite blunt about it, actually. She admits that having a private home makes life infinitely easier when it comes to taking care of the backyard.
Because it's just physically there.
Right. Establishing that necessary grounding energy is simpler. When you own a house, you have direct, tangible influence over the physical land behind your dwelling.
You can plant trees, you can move soil, build structures.
You control the physical earth.
But, when you choose apartment living, you basically surrender all of that control.
You don't get to decide what happens outside your window.
No, you don't. And Halfon captures the reality of this with such a great sense of humor in the text.
She really does. She talks about how instead of a lush garden, your so-called backyard might just be a tiny, narrow balcony.
Or just a view of a brick wall. But she points out the silver lining, which had me laughing. She says, at least you have a neighbor who, quote, mows nothing at 7 a.m.
That's the dream, honestly. You get to sleep in instead of waking up to a two-stroke engine right outside your bedroom window.
Exactly. But I think that humor serves a very specific purpose in her lecture, doesn't it?
Oh, for sure. It strips away the intimidating, mystical veneer that sometimes surrounds Feng Shui and grounds it in everyday reality.
Yeah, she's acknowledging the spatial dilemma.
Right. We willingly trade the energetic grounding of a physical yard for the convenience and density of urban living. We literally trade soil for concrete.
Wait, I have to push back on this premise for a second.
Oh, go ahead.
If we're taking the mechanical principles of Feng Shui seriously, and the backyard is quite literally the foundation where a family's stability lives and breathes, and my personal backyard is just a fourth-floor view of an asphalt parking lot.
I see where you're going with this.
Like, is my family doomed to fall apart? Are we energetically destined for chaos just because we don't own a plot of land?
And that is the exact anxiety her lecture is designed to dismantle.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, she writes directly to that fear in the text. She says, "Don't panic, your family won't fall apart, but we need to talk."
I love how conversational she is about it.
What's fascinating here is how she completely redefines the rules of engagement for spatial energy.
Okay, how so?
Well, Halfon's ultimate bottom line is that Feng Shui, as a practice of spatial harmony, does not actually care if you have 500 acres of sprawling countryside.
Or like an 80 square meter apartment in the middle of a city center.
Exactly. The mechanics of the energy don't rely on physical square footage.
Wait, really? So they don't rely on the actual building?
Nope. They rely on the operator of the space.
You mean the person living there?
Right. The governing rule, the absolute core of her philosophy that shifts the entire paradigm is this specific phrase: energy goes where intention goes.
Energy goes where intention goes.
Yeah.
It completely flips the script, right?
It really does. It means you aren't a victim of your architecture.
Exactly. You aren't just passively sitting in a concrete box absorbing whatever chaotic energy the city throws at you.
The physical space is merely a canvas, basically.
Yeah. If you lack a physical backyard, you don't lack the capacity for grounding family energy.
You simply have to intentionally manufacture that energy inside the space you do control.
Because spatial psychology tells us that we don't just passively experience a room, we project meaning onto it.
So Halfon is essentially teaching us how to project the meaning of a sprawling, stable backyard onto the interior walls of a small apartment.
That's it, exactly.
Which brings us into Halfon's Fix-It list, which is essentially a guide to manufacturing this outdoor energy indoors.
Let's get into the practical stuff.
Yeah, since intention is the active ingredient here, she starts with the most obvious natural element: plants.
The easiest way to bring the outdoors inside?
Right. Halfon says that plants are quite literally your new backyard.
But she is very specific about the psychological approach to these plants.
Right. You don't just buy a fern at the grocery store, stick it in a dark hallway, and hope for the best.
Definitely not. She says you need to buy plants, and then you need to actually talk to them.
I mean, she goes as far as to say, name them if you must.
I love that. It shifts the plant from being a static piece of interior decor to being a living, breathing participant in your home's ecosystem.
It makes a relationship.
Yeah.
And strategically, she dictates that these plants must be placed in the east sector of your apartment.
The compass direction is key here.
Yeah. If you do this, she claims you will watch your family energy, quote, green up, literally.
And we need to look at why the east sector is so vital here.
Break it down for us.
In the traditional Bagua map, which is the energy grid used in Feng Shui, the east is the sector associated with family, health, and lineage.
Okay, so it's directly tied to the family unit.
Right, and is governed by the wood element. Think about the characteristics of wood and trees.
They represent upward growth, deep roots, vitality.
And expanding life. By intentionally placing living, growing plants in the east, you are cultivating the energetic equivalent of a thriving garden directly into the zone of your home that governs how your family grows together.
That is wild. You are basically hacking the energetic system of the apartment.
That's a great way to put it.
Instead of needing an entire forest outside, you are condensing the power of that upward vital growth into a few carefully tended plants in a specific corner.
It's all about that intention.
And the elemental layering doesn't stop with wood. The next item on her fix-it list introduces the earth element.
Specifically through rocks and crystals.
Yeah, and the text is wonderfully emphatic about this. It instructs you to bring rocks into your home, quote, on purpose.
She literally writes earth energy, baby.
Which is so funny. But these rocks and crystals cannot just go anywhere, can they?
No, they specifically need to be placed in the southwest corner of the apartment.
Why the southwest?
Because according to Halfon's framework, that is the corner dedicated to relationships.
Ah, okay. So putting heavy earth energy there ensures your family actually likes each other.
Exactly. Let's break down the mechanics of that.
Let's do it.
If the east is wood, driving growth and upward momentum, the southwest is earth.
Which provides gravity, weight, and immovable stability.
Right. Relationships, especially when compressed into a small urban apartment, they require immense stability to weather the friction of daily life.
Because you're constantly in each other's space.
Yeah. And rocks are the physical embodiment of the Earth's crust. They are ancient, they are heavy, and they are enduring.
Here's where it gets really interesting. If you think about this, you are treating the compass directions of a tiny apartment like an invisible, magical landscaping blueprint.
Yes, a blueprint.
Like placing a rock in the southwest corner of your living room is the energetic equivalent of planting a giant, deeply rooted oak tree. Or, placing a massive landscape boulder in a physical yard.
You are landscaping the unseen energy of the space.
That invisible landscaping analogy is just the perfect way to understand Halfon's method.
You are plotting out an energetic garden. And the psychological impact of doing this is profound, honestly.
How so?
Well, when you are living in close quarters, like a small apartment, tensions inevitably run high simply due to physical proximity.
Oh, for sure. You're always bumping into each other.
Right. But every time you walk past that heavy stone in the southwest or water that plant in the east, you are subconsciously anchoring your mind to the concepts of stability and growth.
The physical objects act as psychological touchstones.
Yes.
You are giving your brain visual and tactile reminders of what you want your family dynamic to feel like, despite the small footprint of the home.
Because the act of watering the plant is an act of intention.
Yeah.
And the act of dusting the crystal is an act of intention. The physical items hold the intention in place, acting as a constant broadcast of that grounding energy.
Shaping how family members interact with one another in that confined space.
Exactly.
So we have the raw elemental materials mapped out, right? We've got the wood element thriving in the east, giving us life and growth.
And we have the grounding earth element anchored in the southwest, giving us weight and stability.
But if we think about an actual backyard, it isn't just trees and dirt.
No, a backyard is an interactive space.
Right. It is the patio, it is the deck, it is the place where the family gathers to actually do things together.
Where people connect.
So where do those interactions happen if there is no patio for a backyard barbecue?
This is where Halfon forces us to reimagine the concept of our gathering spaces. And she starts with the transitional space of the balcony.
Yes, the balcony. If you are lucky enough to have one, Halfon says, quote, "Congratulations, you're a landowner now."
That perspective shift is crucial.
It really is, because in urban environments, balconies are so often treated as glorified storage closets.
Seriously, we put broken bicycles out there or dead potted plants or use it just to dry laundry.
Just a jump chore for the outside. But Halfon demands we elevate its status.
She says it should be treated as your secret garden.
Right, you are instructed to add plants, herbs, maybe even a tiny water fountain.
She calls it instant nature therapy.
It is about claiming that tiny suspended slice of the outdoors and maximizing its potential as a micro-yard.
But Halfon knows many apartments don't even have a balcony, or, the climate makes them unusable for half the year.
Which is super common.
So she places an immense, almost uncompromising emphasis on the dining table.
Oh man, this section of the lecture hits so close to home. She says the dining table space is sacred.
It acts as the direct indoor replacement for the backyard BBQ.
It becomes the communal hearth.
Yes, and the text gives a very explicit, very modern warning. She says, no eating on the couch, scrolling TikTok.
Which is so easy to do.
It is.
But she says you have to gather at the table, eat together, and I absolutely love this phrasing, pretend you're fancy.
The directive to pretend you're fancy is actually a profound instruction in behavioral psychology.
Because the temptation of the couch and TikTok dinner is incredibly powerful.
We've all been there.
You come home from a long, exhausting day in the city. The apartment already feels cramped, and it's just so easy to collapse onto the sofa with a plate balanced on your lap, entirely checked out, staring at a screen.
Completely disconnected.
But when Halfon says to treat the dining table as a sacred outdoor substitute, it demands a completely different physical posture and mental state.
You aren't just consuming calories in front of a television.
No, you are actively gathering in your energetic backyard.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what Halfon is really addressing here is the absolute necessity of boundaries in small spaces.
Boundaries are so hard in an apartment.
They are. When you live in a compact apartment, the functions of the rooms easily bleed into one another.
Yeah, the living room becomes the dining room.
Which also acts as the home office.
And sometimes the gym.
Exactly. And that constant blurring of boundaries is exactly what creates the feeling of claustrophobia and chaos in small space living. Your brain never knows what mode it is supposed to be in.
Because there is no physical separation between resting, eating, and working.
It is all just one big blur of activity happening on the same piece of furniture.
So by defining specific, respected zones for connection, like declaring the dining table a sacred screen-free zone for gathering, you enforce a psychological boundary?
You are telling your brain and your family, this is our designated space for connection.
The table will basically replaces the patio.
It prevents that claustrophobic bleed and creates a structured environment where family roots can actually take hold.
You are building architectural walls, using your habits,
Yeah.
rather than relying on drywall.
Beautifully said. You are honoring the function of the space, and in return, the space supports the family dynamic.
It requires discipline, but that discipline is the exact intention Halfon says is required to move the energy.
Without a doubt.
So we have set the stage. We have our natural elements acting as our landscaping in the east and southwest.
Check.
And we have dedicated our gathering spaces, like the balcony and the dining table, to mimic the outdoor patio.
Right.
The final step on Halfon's Fix-It list is about cementing that familial bond visually.
The family photo wall.
Yes. Halfon instructs us to take our family photos and stick them specifically on the south wall of the apartment.
But she adds a caveat, right?
She does. Again, she clarifies this with her signature humor, noting that this should not be a shrine.
No creepy shrines allowed.
Right. It shouldn't look like a somber museum of ancestors staring down at you. It's just supposed to be a visual reminder that, yes, these people love you. Or, as she jokes, probably.
Probably. That's great. And the placement on the south wall is deeply intentional within the mechanics of Feng Shui.
Why the south?
The south is the sector associated with the fire element. It represents visibility, illumination, fame, and recognition.
Like the sun.
Exactly. It is the energetic peak of the day where the sun is highest.
So by putting the family photos in the south, you are literally illuminating the family unit.
You are putting the concept of familial love in the brightest, most visible, energetic sector of the home.
You are feeding the family dynamic with the warmth and visibility of the fire element.
And her humor about it probably being true love is vital.
It really keeps the entire practice grounded.
It prevents Feng Shui from feeling like a rigid, superstitious doctrine and turns it into a practical, joyful exercise in environmental design.
So what does this all mean? If we step back and look at the full map we've just drawn for you, the listener, we have essentially built an entire landscape inside a concrete box.
Let's look at the totality of the grid here.
Okay.
You have activated the east sector with living, breathing plants, cultivating upward growth and health.
Right.
You have grounded the southwest corner with heavy earth and stones anchoring your relationships.
The invisible boulders.
Yes. And you have claimed the south wall with images of connection, illuminating them with the energy of fire.
And on top of all that, you have centered your daily interactions around a sacred dining table, protecting your communal time from the chaotic bleed of small space living.
It is a highly structured, comprehensive environment.
It really is.
Individually, these might seem like simple microactions. Buying a fern, moving a rock, eating at a table instead of the couch.
Tiny little shifts.
But combined, they create a profoundly stable ecosystem. By engaging multiple compass directions with specific, intention-laden physical objects and actions, you successfully replace the energetic vacuum of the missing backyard.
You literally build it from the inside out.
You really do.
Which brings us to the core, empowering takeaway for you today.
Yeah.
Annette Halfon's lecture proves that you do not need land to have grounding family energy.
No, you don't.
You don't need a white picket fence, a freshly mowed lawn, or a sprawling deck.
The physical earth might be an architectural luxury, sure, but the energetic earth is something you can manufacture yourself.
By utilizing the east sector of your home for growth, the southwest corner for grounding relationships, and the south wall for visual love.
Yeah.
By fiercely honoring your dining table as a sacred gathering space and greening up whatever tiny balcony you might have, you can create a thriving, deeply rooted backyard in just 80 square meters.
And of course, we cannot forget Halfon's final perfect command in the text.
Oh, my favorite part. Now go hug a plant.
Go hug a plant. This raises an important question, though, and it forces us to reflect on how often we let our physical constraints dictate our emotional well-being.
We do that all the time.
We routinely tell ourselves, I can't host dinners because my place is too small, or, I can't feel grounded because I don't own a home.
We willingly surrender our power to the architecture.
Exactly. But Halfon's work demonstrates that intentionality is actually a vastly stronger force than square footage.
Energy goes where intention goes.
It really is that simple.
And it completely rewrites the rules of how we live.
Oh,
Which leaves us with something pretty wild to think about as we wrap up today.
what's that?
Well, if energy truly follows intention, and you can literally conjure a grounding, stable backyard out of thin air in a tiny elevator hall apartment,
Yeah.
what other missing rooms, resources, or spaces in your life could you completely bring into existence right now just by shifting your intention and moving a few objects around?